I'm Laura Lea Smith, the lead realtor with the Life on the Brazos Group, and if you did not know, I'm an at-home cook for my family. It's one of my favorite things to do in my spare time. So today I wanted to bring you along and share my passion for real estate and my passion for cooking and collide those things while I cook dinner for my husband. We're for sure doing fried pork chops, mashed potatoes, and bacon Brussels sprouts. And if we have time before Lou gets home, I'm gonna throw in some gravy. I always measure with my heart around here, but to start, you're going to need between 8 and 10 bone-in, thin sliced pork chops. I get mine from H-E-B, but wherever you want to go is fine with me. Now, we also need flour, and then an array of seasonings, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Small bowl of water, put it to the side. Bigger bowl, like I said, measure with your heart. I would probably say for this amount of pork chops, let's do 2 cups of flour. Salt. A lot. Ain't nobody want bland pork chops. Pepper. A lot. Onion powder. A lot. Just enough to cover everything. And I mean, like I said, you can't get it wrong. You can't have too much seasoning except for the salt. So if you want to measure the salt, I would say maybe a tablespoon. But if you have to. Parsley, dried. A lot. Tony Chachere's, just a smidge, just enough to give it that Cajun flair, you know? Garlic powder, a lot. And then just mix with your hands like this. Big skillet, gotta have this. I really don't know what it's called, but it protects the grease from getting all over your stove because nobody wants a dirty stove. Put it on medium-high heat. Mine says 6. Let it get warm. While your pan's heating up, fill your other pot up with water and turn it on high. This is gonna be for our potatoes. Now my potatoes are already washed, peel on, but that's how my family likes it. If you want them peeled, you do you. Right in the pot. Okay, so I like to fry with a little bit of lard mixed with olive oil. You can do all olive oil or vegetable oil, whatever you want. I just think it makes it taste better and it also gets it crispier, but I understand some people don't like lard. Big heaping tablespoon, right in the pot. Then you come back, that's why we wear an apron. You come back right with your olive oil right on top. Let this get hot. I'd probably say 1.5 cups. You really want your pork chops to have enough room to get smothered by the oil so they fry on both sides evenly. And I hate having a dirty kitchen, so you gotta get everything as close to the stove as you possibly can. These pork chops are just patted dry, and then I sit them on my counter for about 30 minutes. You want them to be almost room temperature with no water on them because that's how they get crispier.
And while we're cleaning up, Laura Lea, do you want to tell us about what an appraisal is?
An appraisal is when you get a loan through a mortgage company. You have a third-party person that the mortgage company hires to come out and assess your property and let you know how much it's worth, because the bank is not going to lend you more than what the house is worth. So they have to make sure you're not overpaying. Okay, for the bacon Brussels, we're gonna go ahead and preheat our oven to 425. I throw my bacon in the oven just because it doesn't stink up the house as much, but you do you. Okay. And don't be nasty, wash your hands. Bacon in the oven, 17 minutes. For crispy. My grease is hot. It's actually smoking, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit because we don't want to burn our pork chops. Pork chop, water, right in the flour. Give it a good bath. Right in the grease. Boom. Pork chop, water, flour. Keep a clean hand, it helps. See, helps. Cover. No one likes a dirty kitchen. We cook with our heart around here, but I would probably say 4 minutes aside. If you like them crispier, I'd probably do 5 minutes aside. But you can really just look, when the batter is done, the pork chop is done. Don't forget, thin pork chops. Okay, our pork chops are going, our potatoes are going, and so now we're gonna start our Brussels sprouts. Now, I like thin and crispy Brussels sprouts, but with a little bit of meat to them. And when I say meat, like chunkier pieces. So I always buy this bag of H-E-B already shredded, ready to go Brussels sprouts. But then I also buy the thick version and I open them up and I hand mandolin them because I think it just makes it taste better. Now these are pre-washed, so don't come after me. Now you don't have to do this step. If you like just little Brussels sprouts shaved and that's all you want, that's great. But me, chunky. Just gonna go through and mandolin them. Be careful with the mandolin. I pretty much do this every single week, so I've gotten professional with it. But see, they just create this like thicker piece that kind of just gives it a little more crunch. Try that.
While you're chopping those up, can you talk to us a little bit about what addendum means?
So an addendum is a part of the contract. It's an extra form. So we have like the actual contract, which would either be unimproved property contract 1 to 4, or just say regular condo contract. But addendum is something that we're adding to that contract. Non-realty items, we're going to get financing. We need to add in a contingency addendum. There's HOA addendum, lots of different things that we would add to the contract depending on your offer and your circumstances. So yeah, chops ready, now we flip. Hand mandolin from the bag. Just those little bits just make it just that more, love it. Okay, the chops are ready, but the trick to keeping your grease from burning is take 2 out at one time and then batter 2 more and then take the other 2 out, because if you let it sit there for too long, your grease will burn.
As you're assessing those chops, do you want to talk to us about what assessed value on the real estate market means?
Okay, so assessed value. That is what the tax appraisal office gives you in value for your home. So if you go to, for example, brazoscat.com, you're going to see an assessed value. But that's not typically market value. And so market value and assessed value are 2 very different things. Market value is typically higher depending on what county you're in, but you should always talk to a local realtor about what your true value of your home is.
Do you know any good realtors in the area that could do that?
Well, duh, me. I can cook up real estate, I can cook up some fried pork chops, and I can cook up some laughs too. That's my team. You want to put your pork chops on a plate with a paper towel to soak up like that extra grease. That extra grease is going to make your pork chops, if you leave it on there, kind of gooey as they sit for longer. And no one wants to bite into a gooey pork chop. You want a crunchy pork chop. Clean as you go. No one likes a messy kitchen. Well, you have to feed the best little sous chef there is. Good little dog. We be checking the chops. Oh, see, that's what you're looking for. See, crispy. Nobody wants a lamb chop. Oh, tell me about it. Turn your fire off. Let them rest over here with the other ones. And cover them to get the grease on top too. Just took all the bacon off my pan. Put it right here, and I'm going to slice it up and dice it really finely later on. But for now, it goes to the side. Next, Brussels sprouts right in the bacon grease. I promise it's good. Both plates. Oh, so worth it. Crispies. Like this. Spread them out. Like so. Now I'm gonna hit them with a bunch of seasonings. You know I don't measure, but I'm thinking onion powder, garlic powder, Tony's, salt, pepper, probably not the parsley, but everything I used earlier besides the parsley. So we don't even have to buy more things. We didn't put a ton of salt in there because remember, bacon fat is salty. Tony's, just because I like Cajun, but again, not a ton because this Tony's does have some salt, but just enough to give it the little flair. Garlic powder. A ton. I love garlic powder and onion powder. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world, so sorry. Onion powder. A ton. And then a little bit of pepper. Not a lot though. gotta get dirty. So I gotta take my wedding ring off because I don't like bacon fat in my wedding ring. And you have to mix it with your hands. I promise you cannot do it as well with a spoon. You wanna massage your Brussels sprouts before you put them in the oven. They wanna soak up all of that bacon fat. This is what makes them delicious. Okay, Brussels sprouts, all the bacon grease, all the seasonings, but none of the bacon. We're gonna save those for later. Into the oven, 425, about 15 minutes. Give or take, but measure with your heart. Testing our potatoes. They're getting there, but if you have to put any pressure with your fork into them, they're not ready yet. They probably need a few more minutes, which will probably time up right with the Brussels sprouts. It's like I planned it. Now chop your bacon. This is really nothing that you have to be really in tune with. Just chop it up. There's no rhyme or reason on how big or small your slices are. I just chop with my heart. Okay, potatoes turned off. Brussels sprouts coming out. Oh, they look so good. Whew. Yum! Bacon chopped and goes right over top. Okay, so I know a lot of people use milk or heavy cream or something of the sort, but don't fear, chicken bouillon. We did about 5 big yellow potatoes, so we're gonna do about 1 big heaping tablespoon, and actually I changed my mind because we measure with our heart. 2 big heaping tablespoons of chicken bouillon. Like so. Put it right in the bottom of a measuring cup and fill that baby back up. And then fill it up to the top with hot water. Now this is a 2-cup measuring cup, and then we're gonna stir and make chicken broth. Also, this is probably the most cost-efficient way to make chicken broth because that jar of chicken bouillon is $6. It tastes amazing, and it probably feeds my family for a whole month because we eat a lot of chicken broth. See, consistency. Drain your potatoes. Right back in the pan. If the pan is hot, you want to make sure your potatoes stay hot. Boom. Back on the stove. 5 potatoes, half a stick of butter. Mixer, potatoes and butter, little bit of chicken broth. I add as I go, not a ton. Probably good for right now. Salt, measure with your heart. A lot. Pepper. And then I always like a dried chive in my potato, but you do you. Get your mixer going, low speed. You don't want to get chicken broth everywhere. Babe, I got you a feast going.
Well, good.
You always gotta taste your work. Fried pork chops, bacon Brussels sprouts, and mashed potatoes. And don't forget your 3 A's of real estate: appraisal, addendums, and assessed value. See you next week.